Good afternoon and welcome everyone. Today is the 11th of July. My name is Matt Leschper with 1836 Property Management, and today we're here to talk to you about self-managing versus professional management. We appreciate you guys joining us today. A lot of you will be getting this video afterwards, so feel free if you have any questions, any follow-up, reach out to us. We have a business development manager who we can put you in touch with. We also have a lot of resources on our website that are FAQs. We've got a YouTube page that's got hundreds of videos on it, so feel free to go on there. There's topic-specific videos, and we've got a website refresh that's going to be going in probably about 7 days or so. We've been working on that for months, so that'll make it a lot clearer and concise. So if you guys are investors and seeking more information, it'll really help you dial into what your specific question is and immediately getting answers to such. So again, thanks for joining us today. And our topic being self-managing versus professional management. We have a couple professional property managers with us today. At 1836, there's a team concept in place. Some companies believe that you can have one property manager for one block of properties, and there's a discussion about how many properties that is. Other ones are designed a little bit differently. Some they call it, that would be more of a portfolio style, and some are departmental. Departmental would be if you want accounting, press 1. If you want leasing, press 2. If you want to know anything, press 4. And it really separates all the duties, but no one gets to know the properties truly. So what does the manager do? Well, it'd be one task on a list of tasks. We have kind of a hybrid style, and we've actually developed this style from the good fortune of knowing some people across the nation. I've been able to travel around and really seek professionals and find out what the best options are, not just what does the textbook say. And so one of our great friends, John Bradford, who's actually a state senator in North Carolina, has this set up. They run about 1,500 properties, give or take hundreds, because they work with large investment houses. But they have teams set up. And the beauty of the team concept is not only can you delineate duties to a member of the team, but you have a way in which you can get that talent in, you can train them on a lower level, and then you can give them opportunities to grow. And if somebody takes a vacation, a day off, if someone is sick, the owner's not waiting on a response from somebody who, let's be honest, life happens, may find greener pastures. So it really gives, in my opinion, the greatest opportunity for advancement for employees, for growth, and just redundancy, so that somebody is there minding the business, even if someone takes a day off. And it is really important that everybody gets to know those owners and properties, and somebody has to be stable within that group over a period of years to do so. So the two people we have with us today are our team leads at 1836. We've got Erica Griggs, Melanie Price. Thank you guys for joining us today. And we brought them with you today to really talk about what they do. I have the good fortune of having such wonderful people that I really get to trust my A players to do their jobs, and in turn they deliver. And so as an owner of the business, I get to go out and seek more of the theories of why things should be working, what the latest trends are on a higher level, bring those back, and then it's kind of open for discussion on whether they agree with me or not, which I think is helpful. But the ladies really execute things on a daily basis. They know what their job is. They know how to take care of properties. If there's something unusual, which, believe it or not, things unusual do come up, we'll consult about it as a group because it helps us learn as a group. And so you've got two good resources with you today that I think are really well-versed. They're seasoned, and they're in charge. They own their business and they take care of it. And so appreciate you guys joining us today. Before we dig into the questions, a couple things I want to give to the audience, and I'm sorry to drag this out, but just want to set some foundations. The people looking at us today really are concerned about probably whether they should spend the money, whether it's worth the money, and we need to talk about why they may hire a manager or may not. So as we look at some basic surveys, the reason that most owners hire a manager is for distance. 52% of owners that have a rental property really feel like you need to have someone local. And I will say that even as a professional manager, if I had properties in another city, another state, somewhere that was just out of our service area, even San Antonio, I'm going to either, well, if it's in San Antonio, maybe expand, but I'm going to hire one of our friends. We've got colleagues around the nation, and I trust them. I know who those A players are. And to be honest, it's worth every penny. And I do this for a living. I wouldn't consider managing a property in Nashville if I live in Austin. It's not going to happen because I don't know the people on the ground. What happens if something happens? There's no one there that's responsible. And I don't know if you guys as consumers are aware or not, but we turn down a third of the applications we get because even though they say they meet the criteria, they don't. Now that's people who can't even tell the truth applying, much less help you when something goes wrong in the property. So you don't want to be 3, 4, 5 states away and be relying on tenants to tell you things are great. Don't worry about it. There's no problems here at all. It's just, it's not a good setup for success. And so distance is the #1 reason that people hire property managers. Why would you hire a property manager? You know, you guys that are watching are probably saying, you know, am I spending too much money? Should I be hiring a manager? The biggest reason by far, 3/4 of the people, 75%, was peace of mind. People want to know that if you have one of the largest investments of your life, somebody is available to take care of that for you and be a backup. So it's not on your shoulders 4 states away. You've got to have boots on the ground in that city. It just doesn't work another way. And you know, home warranties are a whole nother story. If you think that those are designed for you as a landlord, they are not. We have friends that we co-brand and co-market with for different events in the community, and they are great professionals at selling home warranties. And when we have discussions with them, they flat out say, these are not intended for property management companies, even though some companies push them. So you really need somebody on the ground, and 75% say that as well. 72%, which is almost the same, handle maintenance and emergencies. This is huge. I can tell you that Christmas Day, people haven't turned on their oven in 6 months, and they are upset because that oven is not firing up at 6 a.m. on Christmas morning. They want to bake cookies. They want to bake croissants. And the oven, and they want somebody to answer the phone. And as an owner, you're going, you know, well, obviously you should have checked it, and that's kind of tough. It's not an emergency, but the customer service determines whether that tenant renews. So handling those emergencies in their eyes, or true emergencies, which may be fire, floods, blood, things like that, which does happen, are huge. And you may be working remotely, not even at your home, or you may be simply not around the phone, and somebody has to answer those calls. So professional companies actually have somebody not only in the office, but somebody that answers the phone 24/7. There's different ways to do it. There's third parties, as well as people can, believe it or not, still carry beepers, which I don't understand, but third parties out there that will answer the phone, record the calls, triage it, can dispatch on their behalf, even at 3 a.m. when tenants get locked out. Fill vacancies quickly is another reason people hire managers. And truth is, if you're not using every resource available to you, you're costing yourself money. And so I think as a company, we probably spend more than anyone marketing our properties because we do just about everything possible. And we could go down the laundry list. But what's important is that you need to be aware that if you're just putting your home on Zillow, you're limiting your exposure to this. Now, keep in mind that 1/3 of people are going to lie to you when they apply. And you've only got this that are seeing. So you've really got to have a multifaceted approach to get the word out there, to get as many people seeing the home as possible, to get the most applicants so you can choose the best applicant, because we all want that great tenant. After that, it kind of decreases. It goes into profitability and professional partnership. But let's get with the property managers today and see what they think. So the biggest topic, the biggest concern for owners seems to be peace of mind. So ladies, you work with owners every day. The truth is that, you know, I think it's me more than you guys. We have this discussion all the time about how our culture's changed in America because we no longer live in these small villages. We have moved to big cities and we don't know anybody. And so everybody is stranger danger. And so you guys are there to deliver peace of mind to people, most of which you've never met in person, that live literally around the globe and don't really know you to trust you. How do you do it? How do you convince somebody that you're a good person and that you really are working hard for them?
Well, hi everybody. I think we tried to really talk to owners. We're always available to take their phone calls or answer their emails. And we want them to know we're real people and we're working for them super hard to make sure everything's in line, the tenant's paying their rent, maintenance is being handled. And if they ever have any issues or questions or concerns or just, hey, I don't know how you handle this, I hope they know that they can contact us and we're happy to jump in and help in any way we can. Mm-hmm. But it's true, we haven't met most of our owners. Some are overseas we haven't even talked to on the phone, honestly, but we're available if they would like to. So, yeah, I mean, that's really, we try to be available.
I'll kind of bounce back and forth to make sure we get perspective from you guys since you started, Erica. So one thing that we always hear in customer service is that I can't get a hold of anyone, no one returns my calls, blah, blah, blah. Do you guys have a way? How do you connect with somebody if they're having trouble connecting with you? And I'm kind of leading you into something. I don't know if maybe I should have planted the seed before I put you in. But you guys have calendars, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
We have links in our email signatures. So even if, if one email, all we have to send for them to be able to click on that link to set up a 15-minute phone call, 30-minute, whatever, if they want to come in an hour. Yeah. We've got all the resources, and all of our owners know that we'll get back to them, at the latest one business day. But I know Erica and I both are always, we prefer to get back to them that day.
Yes.
If we're able to. So it's, we have a lot of resources for our owners to be able to get in touch with us.
So,
yeah.
I don't think that consumers realize the volume of calls and emails you guys get on a daily basis. Because
so much.
If you put out a word and you say, I've got a property. Now, Austin is a vibrant city, right? So we're not talking about the alternative. But you've got a property. It's in a hot neighborhood. You've put it on the web. And you put anything on the web, you get 1,000 inquiries of people that really don't even want it. And you've got to sift through that. Then you've got to get back to them. You've got to go through this whole process. So I think what I'm getting at is that every one of the people, whether it's your clients, your customers, your potential tenants, these people are all barraging you guys every day. It's phone calls, emails. If people can find a way to text you at home at 2 a.m., they will.
They would.
On Facebook, they'll stalk you on LinkedIn. They'll do anything they can to get a hold of you, even if they're not really that interested because they just want to respond. So what I'm hearing from you is kind of basic business to me is, yes, you can call in and certainly somebody should answer the phone, but you're available for appointments, even if it's a phone appointment or a Google Hangout.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about some examples. So peace of mind is the big one, right? So let's stay on the peace of mind topic just for a little bit. We'll try to keep everybody kind of on time today as we go, but let's at least hit this pretty good. So dealing with tenants, how do you give owners peace of mind when it's related to tenants? Because they're all scared. Every tenant is going to trash my house. This tenant looks different than me, smells different than me, believes different than, everybody's scared of the tenant. Nobody's met them. So how do you give them peace of mind with those people?
Well, I think it starts first with the screening criteria if we're able to put them in place. And we make sure we put grade A tenants into the properties. So we make sure they meet all of the criteria, credit, employment, income, all the gamut. And then once we get them in place, it's talking to them and making sure that their concerns are listened to. It's all customer service, like you said. A happy tenant's going to stay longer. So we want to make sure that their maintenance requests are heard. If tenants aren't paying rent, the owner's not having to chase them down, we are. And what happens if they don't? If they've got tenant questions, can I add a dog? Can I add my grandma to the lease? Can I paint this wall? All of that. So we're here for all of those questions. HOA violations. We walk properties at least twice a year, and we're looking for holes in the wall, an unauthorized occupant, or a pit bull in the corner over there that is not on the lease. So we're looking for all of that so we can catch it ahead of time. So we're not going in for the first time at move out and going, oh my God, what happened here? So we already know, and we can catch those things before they become a bigger problem.
So I'm going to scoot down for the next question. So we had our real estate agents on our list, but I don't really know that the consumer cares about real estate agents. Let's be real honest. They probably think they're we love agents, but let's scoot down to showings, because that's important for owners too, right? So when it comes to showings, Mel, how do you give owners peace of mind when it comes to showings on the property, potential tenants that want to see it? What do you have in place to take care of that?
So I think thinking just as an owner that's managing their own property, they might have to show up to let people in for each showing. They might have to put a combo box on and give that info out for each showing, but then they're not able to track the info, or they're not able to follow up with each agent. We're able to track each showing, reach out to each agent that viewed the property for feedback. And I mean, that we rely on the agents to tell us, how they feel about the property, how their client feels about the property, and if they feel like anything needs to be changed. We have it's like 5 or 6 question survey that we ask each of our agents, just so that we can narrow down, do they feel like it's priced too high? Maybe the next door neighbor's house has granite countertops and ours doesn't, and things like that. So we track each one and try to get feedback from each one, so that way we make sure that our listings are competitive and our properties get leased quickly.
So let's talk about one thing that everybody's scared of, not us, but everybody out there is scared of as a consumer, and that is really, it's going to happen whether people like it or not. Self-showing boxes. So as an owner, you're probably not going to invest in this, because unless you're doing a home away, Airbnb, something short term, it's just kind of pointless to invest in it if you're doing long-term rentals, which is what we do. Self-showing boxes. How many problems have you had with the boxes, with damage, with any of it?
I haven't had any.
So,
no issues. We've had more showings because they've been on the property.
So you believe that we have more people walk a property, look at it as potential tenants, and go to it because of those boxes?
Yeah. They don't have to schedule with an agent. They can just go whenever they want.
And tell me again about the problems you've had with them.
I haven't. I haven't.
So,
not yet.
Now you got to admit, so we're talking about peace of mind, right? And so the consumer, the owner, the investor, they are flat out. I mean, we've talked to these folks, right? They're scared. You're putting a box on here and letting people in my house that you don't know, and you're not walking with them. So what do you guys talk about? What has happened? What hasn't happened? What have you, you're getting more showings. Are you able to verify who these people are? Do you just give them a key a combo box and they walk in and you just say good luck, or what's going on?
Well, so they have to upload a copy of their ID. They have to fill out a kind of a short application almost, just to kind of pre-qualify them. If they meet our criteria based on that pre-qualification and they upload a copy of their ID, we've got all that logged, and it gives them a temporary code that they can use to access the property, which expires, so they can't go back tomorrow and go raid the house or something like that. So there's that extra level of protection. And if somebody's willing to upload their ID, chances are they're probably not coming there to steal the fridge, because we got their info.
Well, so the other thing, and I don't want to put you guys on the spot with this, but the other concern from owners is that somebody's going to steal something from their house, just like you said, the refrigerator. And the funny part of that to me is that all these people are willing to give you their phone number, their email, a copy of their ID, pre-qualify themselves, document when they're in, when they're out. They have somebody, if wants a refrigerator, they're just going to kick in the door. They're not going to go through
all those steps to do that.
We're not talking about robbing the diamonds from the King of England here. We're talking about a refrigerator. Good night. You'd have to pull up a truck.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, Do you guys like showing homes vacant, ready, owner occupied, tenant occupied? How do you like showing homes? What's the best result?
There's
Vacant and ready.
yeah, there's no question, vacant and ready.
Why?
You don't have to schedule with tenants, and
They don't have to question what is or isn't going to get done before they move in.
mhm. Yeah, it's tenants don't always want to schedule with agents, or they're not going to clean up and make the property look as its best. So once we can get it vacant and ready, people can go whenever they want to see the property, and then they can see it in its best state. Once it's clean and everything's done, always, hands down.
Have you seen the rental rates higher because it is vacant and ready?
I would say so, because they can see the property as it should be,
Well,
and not with trash everywhere.
you guys definitely do get requests to lower the rental price when it isn't vacant and ready, or it's not pretty, or the curb appeal's bad, or it smells, or the paint's bad, or the landscape. We can go through the whole list, but basically not properly made ready. They request a lower price.
Yeah.
So what about the market? If you took a property and you had it on market for 45 days because it was occupied, do you think it would take longer once vacant and ready from going 45 forward, or if it was at day 0? Do you think there's a stigma of properties that have been on the market forever that people are questioning?
Yeah, people definitely question the number of days that it's on the market.
Yeah.
I get that question a lot. Like, why hasn't it been leased yet? What's wrong with it?
What's wrong with it?
So,
I'm not going to tell you what's wrong with the property.
Yeah, absolutely. When nothing might be wrong, it's just that tenant doesn't want any agents showing the property.
Or
So they're not being
contract
cooperative.
in place, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so last one on peace of mind. We'll kind of skip the rest. I think we covered vendors. Let's talk about vendors, because I won't say every, but I really want to say every. It feels that way, but that's not the truth. A lot of investors or owners feel that every vendor is going to rip them off. How do you, because you have to trust the vendors you use. You have to watch them. You have to see how things come out when problems do exist, because life happens. How do you give an owner peace of mind when it comes to the vendors? Because anything under a certain threshold, you guys are ordering the repairs. That's what you're paid to do. That's your job. How are you giving customers peace of mind when it comes to that?
Yeah, I mean, we vet our vendors. We fire vendors when they don't do what we want them to do. We want them to abide by an entire agreement. This is how we want you to communicate with us, communicate with our tenants. We have maintenance limits that you need to stick to. And if you have an estimate, you need to send it in this way. We need to get approval from the owner. We're going to look at every single invoice that they have and make sure that they did what we asked that they do, that it's under the limit unless we've given them written approval for it. And we're making sure that the tenant's happy with the job that was done. So we really make sure that we work with vendors that are willing to work with us and abide by our standards. And we're willing to fire vendors if they're not. So we have a great group of vendors that we can, and we've got multiple. So if somebody's backed up, we have somebody else to send, and they're willing to talk to us and work with us if there's an issue, or they'll talk to our owners. Hey, I want more details about this estimate that you sent me. They're willing to talk to you. So that's what we strive for when we look for vendors, just to make sure that they're going to do everything that we ask of them.
Yeah, we've worked with them for years. I mean, some we've worked with for probably at least 10 years, as long as they've been in business or we've been in business.
Yeah.
And so that's built a good relationship between us and the vendors. So we know that we can call them if something comes up.
Yeah.
And we know that they'll pick up the phone is the biggest thing.
Definitely.
Here's what the consumer is wondering about. Can you get me the cheapest price to repair a faucet, for repair an AC? Are you going to get me the cheapest price?
It's not always going to be the cheapest price. Do you want somebody that's going to do it right and do it right the first time? That may not be the cheapest person.
Yeah. Price and quality
They don't
Yeah.
always go hand in
Yeah.
hand. Now we know if something's like fair, competitively priced. So if it's like off the deep end, we're gonna go, hey, what's going on here? That price for replacing a faucet is way too expensive. But
Because how many faucets have we replaced?
exactly. So we know generally what the cost is going to be for that.
Yeah.
But no, it's not always going to be the cheapest because that vendor is not always the best quality.
So I don't think the consumers realize, I don't know if you guys have run the numbers, so I won't put you on the spot with it, but from your back end numbers, you guys replace a dishwasher, a hot water heater, an air conditioning system, not repairs, but the whole system, about one per week.
Oh, I believe that.
So,
Sounds about right.
Oh yeah.
you know, every time we send you send a hot water heater request to an owner, because the federal government changed the standards a while back, and now it's not real cheap to repair. It can be up to $2,000, $2,500 because it has to meet these efficiency standards where it used to be, $800 to $1,200. Every time, because that doesn't come up very frequent, owners typically come back and go, why is it so expensive? Why can't I have 3 bids? Why aren't you getting this done cheaper? Because they see the bill. But the
Yeah.
thing is, you guys see the service and the bill once a week
Yes.
for the exact same repair. So do you think it would be helpful to get 3 bids on something you do every week? Do you
No.
go to different grocery stores to see what the cost of bread is every week?
And if we send out 3 vendors every single time, those vendors aren't going to start returning our calls because they're going out for free and wasting their time for an estimate that we already know is going to be about the same.
Yeah.
And that's how you lose the trust of your own vendors because we're just sending them out for stuff that we never actually, use.
So they're going to
So-
charge the owner for it either way, one way or the other, because the only people that do free work
Right.
are the ones that either do shoddy work or the ones that charge too much when they get a deal. They somehow gouge you because they have to make up for the free bid, right? Nothing is free in the world. So you would end up, if you got 3 bids from reputable people, having 3 bills, none of the work done.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's stay on kind of that topic, but go a little bit different. Handling maintenance and emergencies. What do you guys see commonly? Give me a maintenance problem. Let's go to emergency. That's easier because the maintenance is kind of routine, right? I mean, you got leaks. Well, different types of
HVAC systems right now.
So what's
Yeah.
an emergency you've been seeing a lot of lately?
HVAC for sure.
Yeah.
Everyone's AC is going out,
At the same time.
and it's an emergency. Like in Texas, it's definitely an emergency. It's 100 degrees outside, and nobody wants to live 5 minutes in their house without AC.
Yeah.
So we're getting plenty of after-hours phone calls that if you're self-managing, you'd be receiving the phone call. And you're going to have to scramble to figure out which vendor is going to go available. Yes, after hours, on the weekends, on Sundays, on the holidays.
That's not
And so, so I mean, we've got, luckily, very lucky for us, we have our after hours emergency maintenance line that takes those calls for us, and they filter through the calls to make sure it's an emergency before they send anybody. They get all the info from the tenants to make sure that the vendor has all the info they need before they even go out there. But yeah,
Makes it easy.
Yep.
Makes it easy that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, lots of HVAC. We've had a lot of those. I mean, in the wintertime, you get, the heater not working or the water heater going out and there's no hot water. Trees falling down, stuff like that.
So on the HVAC system, let's say that I'm going to self-manage and I own a property in Nashville, but I live in Austin. Nashville's fun, so we'll say that. The HVAC system goes out. The tenant starts calling me, and they never let me know because all the emergency maintenance calls come in at 6 p.m. on a Friday. I don't know why. Nothing ever comes in on 8 a.m. on Monday, right?
Yeah.
So I get a call. HVAC system's out. It's 100 degrees. Well, I can't get anybody to get out there because everybody's backed up because they all go out at the same time of year, right? Everyone turns theirs on and everyone's goes out. It doesn't go out like, okay, this week 1% of the population, next week 1%. It's all kind of at once, right? So all the vendors are backed up. So I can't get anybody out over the weekend. So Monday comes around, that tenant's been without in 100 degrees for at least 2-3 days. What do you guys do as a company, or what do you have available for tenants that an owner who's out of state might not, if it takes 7 days to get that HVAC system in? Because some of the systems, especially in condos, are in the ceiling and they're special order, or you have to literally get a crane to put the compressor on the top of the building if it's a multifamily. It's not just outside in the yard. So what do you guys have that you can do for people, because you are local, that out-of-state folks might not be able to do?
Yeah, we have portable AC units that if we have somebody available, we can have them drop one of those off. They can come pick one up. If not, so we can try to help relieve some of the cooling. Obviously, it's not the same as getting the central AC unit fixed, but it's at least something while we work towards getting a solution. So
Making
yeah,
them somewhat comfortable.
yeah. I mean, and that helps. I mean, tenants want the whole thing fixed, and obviously so do we. I mean, it makes everybody happier if you can get it fixed right then and there. But as long as the tenant feels like, hey, I'm being listened to, they understand that I'm in a situation, and we're trying to do what we can to take care of them. I think that at least helps a little bit, which somebody out of state wouldn't be able to supply that to a tenant.
Well, it seems like that might buy you a little time too.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Either backed up out of your control, or you simply need just a moment to make a decision. That tenant may, especially in a small apartment, be able to cool the unit to a palatable level, especially at night, to give you a moment to breathe if something did go wrong. If you have to call for that crane or that specialty unit, or everybody's simply backed up. So that's super nice to have. Is there anything else you guys have in place that you think would be beneficial to people that you do because you're local or you have access to that somebody out of state might not?
I mean, probably just our list of vendors.
Yeah.
We have our priority list of vendors that go out, and if that first one's not available, we have 2 or 3 backups that we can call to see who can make it out there the fastest.
Right.
So that way the tenant has some relief.
Yeah, having that backlog of vendors really helps, because then, we can really try to get the work done as quickly as possible for the tenant, because as we mentioned, happier tenants stay longer. So if they feel like their maintenance requests aren't being taken care of, they're going to find someplace else to live. So I think that's one of the main reasons people do leave their rentals are, if they're not being having their maintenance taken care of with enough care and swiftness.
And really, the key to success in this whole thing is reducing tenant turnover. Because if you have tenants every year and you can't maximize your rent because of some special location, you're paying for vacancy, leasing fees, and make-ready costs every year. And it won't be as successful, if it is successful at all. You've got to keep those tenants happy and in place to make the whole endeavor work. And if you can get that really long-term tenant that never leaves, it's phenomenally different on the return on investment. So, well, let's talk about vacancies, because that's one of the other things that consumers really want to know about. How do you guys market the property that's different from something that they may do?
Well, we do a lot of marketing. So not only do we have professional photos for all of our listings, we also do a custom floor plan, which really helps for those people moving out of state. They can see exactly what the floor plan is and if their furniture is going to fit before they even walk into the house. We also have a narrated video walkthrough tour. So also those people that can't see the house, they can see it, just by walking through it with our photographer.
Yeah.
We do, what else do we do?
At certain price ranges, we do drone videos. Those are probably one of my favorites. Those
I
are really
love
fun. We don't see a lot of any other leasing listings doing that.
Yeah.
So I'll stop you on
yeah.
drone footage just as a question. Do you think that drone footage and or special photography makes a difference on whether a property leases or not?
Absolutely. I mean, I do think that if you've got excellent photos, your property is going to show better. I mean, if you've got dark photos with the lights off, or they're blurry, how can somebody see the property? It just doesn't market it
they're
well
going to
enough.
skip right over
Yeah,
it while
they're
they're
just-
looking online.
Correct.
What if
You want to see the pretty photo.
What if you've got a house that's but it's in an emerging neighborhood? Everybody wants that, right? Their neighborhood's going to get them rich quick. But all they see around is that neighborhood. But if you get the drone footage, you hover up and you're able to show how close you are to downtown.
Yep, absolutely.
Big
It really helps.
Big selling point. Okay, so what are some of the other things you guys do as a company to get these properties leased that people might not be able to do from out of state?
Yeah, so, well, we have access to the MLS, so we post all of the listings on the MLS, and that syndicates to
120.
so many other real estate websites, Zillow, Trulia, all those. We also partner with local brokerages that help push out our listings as well. So they are also promoting our rentals as well. So that helps get even more people seeing.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. So the drone footage is one thing rarely used in leasing unless you have a multi-million-dollar property. Yeah. And then I don't think I know of anyone else nationwide, honestly, that has partnerships with other brokerages because, again, everybody lives in fear. And so, we got to compete with these guys. But there are companies that do either leasing only or they don't have a management company. And so those agents have to lease properties or have traffic in order to eat, right? And so your partnership, I think you've got about 10 different brokerages, which can take all of your listings and push those out on social media without asking because their brokers have signed letters of agreement. And so I really think that's kind of underrated because you've got not just the staff pushing these out, not just Zillow or Homes.com. You have literal people from all over that are getting paid to push these out there because they want to eat.
Correct. They want to find the tenant so they can get their paycheck.
Are you doing anything on a larger scale? You know, radio, TV, ads. What else are you doing that's kind of bigger and better?
Yeah, podcasts, radio, advertising. We also started doing on Austin Monthly magazine as well for some of our listings, which is really cool. I actually saw one of them the other day. It was awesome. So yeah, we try to get it out there to promote our listings and try to get a tenant as quickly as possible, but a grade A tenant, not just anybody, just somebody we are confident that's going to pay the rent and take care of the property.
So you're leading me into the next topic very easily. Mel, I want to make sure you get some time today. Talk to me about the screening process. Everybody's scared of the tenants. I mean, these tenants they're going to trash my house, right? So let's talk about the screening process. What is
ours
like?
A little bit, so go ahead.
What does it look like and how do you make sure, you know, by following federal guidelines and treating people fairly, that you can deliver the best possible tenant given what you have in front of you?
Yeah, so our criteria is a little bit more strict than others, but I feel like the traction that we get with our tenants, you know, having more traction than other companies makes up for that. But it holds our tenants to a little bit higher standards. So that way we know, you know, almost 100% that they're going to take care of the property. They're going to pay the rent. We require, you know, them to make a little bit more money than other management companies do. We double check their jobs. We have a company that calls their jobs and make sure that they make as much as they're saying and they didn't, you know, make up their pay stubs that they sent us. What's that?
Not that anybody would ever embellish their pay.
Never. Right. I've never seen that ever. Today.
Yeah. Today. What else do we do? We check their credit score. We check the eviction history just to make sure they haven't had any evictions, their criminal background, rental history for the past 2 rentals that they've had. We make them give a reference if we ever need them. We do a lot to make sure that they're going to be great tenants.
Yeah.
So let's talk generalizations. You guys manage hundreds of properties. So let's say out of 100, how many tenants do you say on an annual basis really, I'm not talking about the ones that are just ornery and want to argue with you because, they could still be taking care of the property. They're just not nice people. Let's talk about people that do damage to a property that's beyond their deposit. How many do you have annually out of 100 that really we just kind of, you just missed the ball on, or you couldn't see what you didn't know about their history? How many do you think?
Not a lot. Not a lot. But
I mean, it has to be less than 1%.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
And is that just because you meet them and you shake their hand before you ever approve them, or why is that?
No, we don't meet most of the tenants beforehand. We just make sure they meet all of that criteria on paper. Yeah, and we find if you can meet this criteria, you typically have your life set. Now, that doesn't mean that something can't happen. I mean, we've had they lose their jobs or medical bills pile up. So things do happen, but in the grand scheme of things, we're weeding out the bad apples right from the get-go with the stricter criteria.
You're going to have some old school folks, right, that are going to watch this and go, why don't you meet the tenants? Why don't you do a pet interview? Why don't you see what they look like? What do you say to that?
That could lead to issues if we deny them after meeting them.
Yeah.
If they meet all that criteria on paper, they should be approved. They should get a lease. If you meet somebody and say, I don't like your attitude, they might take that as, oh, well, you didn't approve me for some other reason, know, and that's a gray area. We don't want to even step near that. It's black and white for us.
You feel like without meeting people, but looking at their credit report in depth, their employment history, their rental history, their stability, if you will, on several fronts, you feel like you're getting the results you want for that grade A tenant, good return on investment to the owner at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's all we need to see.
Nice. All right. So let's talk about evictions, because that's right after that, right? So how many people are you guys evicting? You kicking out 20, 30 people a month?
No, thank goodness.
What is it? It's like half of 1%, I think it is, in our eviction.
So people are obviously late on rent. And if you're self-managing, you're nervous because the rent hasn't been paid. Now you've got a conflict you have to deal with. And people love conflict, right? So now you've got a person across state lines who is living in your house, who has not paid rent, and you get to reach out to them because they're hiding from you and say what? I don't know what you say. So what do you guys do when people are late on rent?
So first, all of our tenants' rent is due on the 1st, and the fair housing or whatever requires us to give at least one grace day, so it's late on the 3rd. They start getting late fees on the 3rd. We'll start reaching out to them on the 4th if we haven't heard from them and their rent still hasn't been paid. And then if we still don't have rent by the 5th, we start sending out notices that say, if we don't receive rent within 3 days, then we're gonna start the eviction filing. We wait the mandated time and then we start the eviction filing. So we have a pretty strict process in place to hold all of our tenants accountable. We don't really give any more grace days, and we don't waive in late fees because that's not fair to everybody else. And I mean, for the most part, we've got a lot of tenants that, that they do. Yeah. They'll pay rent on time because they don't want to have to pay late fees.
Yeah. But we're super strict.
Yeah.
We'll file for that eviction if you haven't paid your rent. So we know what that process looks like.
So in the JP courts has been that I go in there and I see some either self-managing landlords local, I see apartment complexes, or I see other management companies who have tenants that are 30, 45, 60, 90 days behind on rent. What are your thoughts on it?
No, why haven't you done this already? We're already sending the notices by, day 5, so we can go and get this resolved. And honestly, I mean, in most of the scenarios when we've had to do that, the tenant then pays
Yeah.
because they know we're serious. If we just let it go, they're going to go, oh, well, I'll pay my rent eventually.
Yeah.
No, we have a duty to our owners to get them their money. So that's our job. So
it's sob stories because you know that the owners that are in California for Austin properties that are self-managing, they're getting sob stories. I mean, I lost my job, my dog died, my grandma died twice. You know, I mean, let's be real. This is what some people do when they can't make the rent. So how is it different if they do that for you guys?
No, I mean, find a way, really. I mean, we have a duty to the owners. So you need to find a way to pay the rent. If you say, I'm going to pay it on a certain date, great. We can tell the judge that, and then they can hold you responsible for paying it on that day. But we're a little strict.
I mean, we can't be emotional about it.
No, you can't.
We have to treat this as a business because that's what it is. It's an investment business for our owners, and
Yes.
that's how we have to treat it for the tenants too.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a tenant manipulate an owner to their own benefit or to the owner's detriment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
When we get
stories?
well, from people that have come to us that were self-managing, didn't you know, like?
Yeah, I've got one in mind where they put their friends in place, and then the friends stopped paying rent. I think they got about 2 months behind, and then obviously it's their friends, so they don't want to
do the process of
ruin that
them.
relationship with them. So that's why they hired us to eventually evict them.
It's just friendship.
Yes.
So maybe don't rent to your friends.
Yeah. We had another one that the tenant kept promising and promising and promising that he would pay the rent. You know, he had all these sob stories. He ended up basically just getting a month behind every month.
Mm-hmm.
And then at one point he just stopped paying rent altogether, and then the owner hired us to evict them.
Yeah. So happens.
Have you seen anything where other management companies have manipulated owners to their own benefit? Or have you had any problems with other management companies? Not to name names, because that's not the point today, but just to let owners know that it's not just hiring a manager. It's actually selecting somebody that has the integrity out there and the operational skills to make sure they'll be there tomorrow. What have you guys experienced with obviously it's not everyone, there's always great and there's always poor, but what have you experienced out there from the bad side?
I've experienced, I can think of two off the top of my head. One, there was one property that we got that was just in shambles, that the property manager had never once walked the property. So
that would be pretty similar to an owner out of state never walking a property.
Yeah, absolutely. Never walked the property, had no idea the condition that the house was in. We got it and we were like, we can't, this stuff needs to be fixed. Some of it was safety concerns, things that weren't up to code that we needed to address. And the owner had no idea what the state of the house was in because nobody told them. The tenant wasn't going to complain about it because they were happy with their rent being low. And nobody bothered to raise the rent for multiple years. Then I also had another one that just, they were supposed to provide the security deposit to us, that old property manager never got it. Got it a couple times and it bounced a couple times. So that's not good either. So that we're still working towards. But I mean, you got to hire the right person that's going to, do what they say and check the property and have the money when you need to send the money.
Yep.
So we've got about 11 minutes left. I'm not seeing any questions posted, and a lot of folks will watch this later. So I'd like to kind of get a summary from you guys. If you were a consumer and you were considering, because the lowest plan you guys have is $99 a month. There's different plans that fit different budgets, honestly. Some are better fits for other budgets, and that has to be done on the analysis phase of their property. But for as little as $99 a month, what What have you learned from your experience that would tell you, you know what, I can do this on my own from afar, or I would never do this? What is your gut feeling about this now that you've been on the other side of the table?
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to go first?
Sure, go for it.
So, I mean, doing this now for a little over 2 years, I've seen a lot coming from tenants, vendors, agents. I mean, everyone comes at us at all angles. But some of the biggest things that I've learned is that we have to filter some of the things that are coming in, mostly from tenants, and we have to make sure that they are getting taken care of and they have customer service, but that we're also holding them accountable. And we have to hold up our end of the bargain just like they have to hold up their end. We do get people that get upset and get emotional and threat, and we have to know that we're doing our jobs the right way. And so if they do come at us with threats or different things, that we know that we did everything that we could and we did it the right way, and they have no ground to stand on, basically. So, I mean, there's a lot of drama, honestly, that comes with it, but we have to just know that it comes with it, and that we know that we're doing everything we can to make things right, and that we're just following the proper procedures, the laws. I mean, there's a lot that comes with it that the general person out there isn't going to know. And just based on our experience and working together with all of our different lines of work and times of experience, we know that we can talk to each other and we have a lot of resources out there also that we'll be able to ask if there isn't something that we know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Erica, any gut suggestions for folks before we depart? Any words of advice or wisdom?
Well, I mean, we can go through some of the things if you need help with property management, I guess. If you're having trouble leasing your property, if it's been sitting and you can't get it leased, and it might be time to get a property manager. You need to know what to do with maintenance. If you don't have a vendor that you can choose. We also know a lot about preventative maintenance now, which I didn't know before working here. I didn't realize you should really be flushing water heaters every year, or maybe checking those dryer vents to make sure that's safe. Safety switches is another one. Didn't know about those. Those can really help. So if you need help with stuff like that, we're definitely we have that knowledge from our experience to help with those items.
Wonderful. I can't thank you guys enough for your time today. I hope that folks really get a lot out of this for years to come as it's recorded, and it'll be useful for folks in the future. Thank you for your advice, your wisdom, the work you deliver. You guys are just the best of the best. For our consumers out there, next month, we have a webinar on August 1st, and we're going to be talking with Pete Newbig. Pete is one of our friends, and he runs Empire Property Management, Empire Industries, in Houston, Texas. They manage a little under 1,000 properties. But Pete and his business partner, Steve, really got into the business by failing. They got into the real estate boom, and they got into multifamily and D-grade multifamilies and got hugely leveraged. And I'll let him tell his story, but didn't do so well at it. But they learned a lot about managing, and they learned about what not to do. And now they run one of the nation's fastest growing property management companies in the 4th largest city in the nation. And they're going to help us learn what not to do, specifically for multifamily, but which can be applicable for anything really. So Pete's a great resource. They're a great company, and we look forward to working with them. So we've got one question. We'll close it out. So ladies, do you want to take this one? How do you set rent for a property? What do you do?
That's a good one. We run comps for every single property. We'll do it when we are putting it on the market for the first time and at every renewal. We want to make sure that we're setting the rent competitively but also based on the surrounding area. So we're going to look at other properties that have the same beds, baths, square footage. The condition of the property really matters too. So we're going to take all that into consideration and find a competitive price. You know, we can try to set higher, but if you're going to sit vacant, and you're not going to get a tenant at that price, it might not be worth it. So you want to make sure you're priced competitively at the first moment to get traffic in, so that we can get a tenant in.
Do you use a Zillow's estimate to find the pricing for the rental?
No, those aren't accurate. No, those aren't real comps.
So why can't you use that?
Well, they're not pulling the information from the MLS that we have. We can see the leased properties in the area at the correct rate that they leased at, because it's all logged in the MLS. So those Zillow, that's just pulling like computer-generated numbers. It's not actually.
Well, in fairness, in California, it's a required disclosure, to the best of my knowledge. But in Texas, it's a non-disclosure state. So they may have access to some data, but they don't have access to the real data. And every neighbor is going to tell you that their property listed and leased for.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
I have
My neighbor got 3,000. No, they didn't. I can see it right here.
So let's say you set rent for a property. How frequently are you reviewing the actual numbers? Not just, yeah, it's still vacant, but what's that process look like? Because what if the market changes? What if traffic changes? What do you do?
We review all of our active listings every week. Mm-hmm. We don't just look at the comps, though. We're also looking at how many showings it got, if we got any feedback from the showing agents. We look at all of that information and base that off of what or if we need to adjust the price. And it's, the market does change pretty much weekly. So we have to keep looking at it to see, what properties got leased in that past week and why did theirs get leased and ours didn't.
Correct.
What are the two biggest things that you would recommend to owners if they say that I want to get my property leased to a great tenant? What are the two top things you would tell them to do with that property?
Make sure it's vacant and ready. And make sure everything is clean and functional. It does not have to be marble or same stainless steel appliances. It just has to be clean and functional, because that's what a grade A tenant is going to expect. They don't want to walk in and see it in disarray, because that's going to attract a tenant that will accept that condition. So that would be my recommendation, at least.
So properly made ready is the biggest one.
Yeah.
What
Say that again? Price and condition.
Price and condition. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the biggest takeaway of the day: price and condition. Don't have pink and purple polka dot walls. You may love it, they may not. Don't leave a tree in the front yard because you don't want to remove it, and don't overprice the listing. That's kind of your takeaway from it.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, while we have a business development manager that talks to new leads, if anybody wants to connect with you guys, you are available on our website. They could, block out a couple minutes of your time if they had further questions or problems they're running across. Same thing with our current client base. They're always welcome. Just take a couple minutes so that you guys can actually connect and you're not playing phone tag or email limbo, things like that. Really appreciate your time today. I know you guys' inbox is probably ridiculous by the time you get off of this. But
have a look. I'm a little nervous.
Just thank the world of you guys and really appreciate you. And we look forward to seeing everybody next month. Wednesday, August 1st, 11:30 a.m. with Pete Newbig, Empire Industries from Houston. And we're going to learn what not to do when managing property. So thank you guys. Have a great rest of the day.
Bye. Thank you.